Greetings, fellow travelers. Welcome on in. This is the 178th level of the RPG Cave. I'm one of your hosts, the level 199 human Dark Lord, Ryan Turford, and I am joined, as always, by the dabbing, the level 199 Elf Battle Alchemist, Dr. Garret Bland. How's it going, Garret?
It's going good. Do the kids still dab? That's the real question, Ryan. Or are they onto something new? Is this the Gen Z kids era going away?
I mean, I don't know. I don't keep up with the kids like you do. You're probably, since you're younger than me, Garret, you're probably actually more in touch with what the kids are doing than I am.
Well, I do have a brother and sister in the teens age. They're literally in the late
That's
Gen
what I
Z
mean.
or early Gen Alpha age. So I have to ask them if they do something different now.
That's the thing, Garret. I have cousins that have children, but like neither of my brothers have children. And not only that, but all my cousins are all over the age of 20. So
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's what I mean.
You know, you and me, I feel like our generation, I think I'm like the youngest, like in this kind of, millennial age here.
Right.
We kind of get it. You know a little bit of older things, of course, in your childhood. And like, I don't remember some of that stuff, but like culture wise, there's something off with the Gen Z and Gen Alpha. They have like a different lingo. They have a different language going on. They think a certain different way. Technology, man, it's just messing with us. Yeah, it really is. So
it definitely has changed the way we think about things for sure. But Yarden confirms in the chat, do not dab.
They do not dab anymore. Oh, okay, is that a bad thing?
I mean, sure, but you do it all the time, so
I do it all the time. So
yeah.
Guess
Also,
I'm an
I
old
love this
grandpa
email,
now.
Garret.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
I
When did we
know.
get those? That's amazing.
We've had them, I think, for a little while, anyways.
Oh,
but
cool.
on Twitch, you've got the RPG Cave emotes if you sub to the channel, which is pretty exciting.
That's pretty cool. I have that shirt. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a good shirt. But speaking of shirts, Garret, we should probably, of course, clear the dungeon so we can get to the raid boss as quickly as possible. So, of course, we got brand new patrons over at patreon.com/carpoolgaming, starting with Solo at the gold membership level. So shout out to Solo over there. As well as Joshua at the exclusive tier, to check out all of the exclusive content, including the Pants Patreon podcast for Patrons podcast. Garret, your episode was out last week, of course.
Yes.
Where, of course, famously, you do the Mount Rushmore of video game doctors.
I did. And you have to be a patron in order to figure out who did I choose?
Who are the best video game doctors? There's only one way to find out is if you're a Patreon.
There's a lot of doctors out there in video games, surprisingly.
Yeah. For sure.
I did not choose Dr. Wily only because I'm not a huge Mega Man fan. I understand every other person would choose Dr. Wily, okay? But I did not.
I feel as though I can accept that answer as long as you picked Dr. Mario in the place of Dr. Wily.
Dr.
Like,
Mario's in there, yes.
when I think about classic video game doctors, like the George Washington of video game doctors, I think of Dr. Mario.
Yeah, it's Dr. Mario, for sure. Yeah,
well,
it's in
I
there.
won't spoil the rest, Garret.
Yeah,
people need to
there's
go
three
listen to
others.
the Pants Patreon
I'll see.
podcast. But also, Mitch's episode will be out tomorrow, so you make sure to check out Mitch's episode there over on the old Patreon, and then we'll have a new questions post going up on Monday for the next episode, which we'll confirm tomorrow on the PlayStation Drive. Also, early access to the mini indie van continues over on the old Patreon. Of course, please send all your feedback to Fulia. She's collecting feedback for the show, including a brand new episode that just went out this week. Her and the Lockleth sat down to talk about indie games.
Nice.
So make sure to go check out episode 3 of the mini indie van. Also, I mentioned this on last week's show, but again, we want to hammer home the point. If you are resubbing on Patreon, especially because the end of the month just happened, if you are going to be a brand new sub on Patreon, if you want to sign up, do not sign up on the iOS app. If you go to your web browser on your iOS device, or if you go on your desktop computer or your laptop and just go to patreon.com/carpoolgaming that way, you'll get a 30% discount because Apple has decided they want to take 30% for all new subscribers on Patreon if you use the iOS app. So Just throwing it out there. If you want to hop into Patreon for the first time, of course, this doesn't affect anyone who's subscribed to Patreon already. But if you're returning to the Patreon after an absence, or if you're brand new to the Patreon, just remember, don't use the iOS Patreon app to do it. Go to your web browser on your phone, or go on your desktop or laptop.
You know what Patreon should do? They should just say, just click a link to the patreon.com.
Yeah.
For this stuff. Like,
just
that would
change
be
the
an
app.
easy fix. Yeah, just change the app. It's like, all right, you're not going to pay through the Apple. Like, you're going to. Anyways.
That's actually a really good idea, Garrett. I like that idea.
I don't know. I think a lot of apps do that. So, anyways.
Yeah. Of course, also, we've got carpoolgaming.com for all your merch, including RPG Cave t-shirts, like Garrett mentioned earlier, as well as other cool shirts from the show. Of course, you can always gift merch to Twitch chat anytime we're live. So, of course, you can go over to carpoolgaming.com, select the merch you want to give away, and select the Twitch gifting option as well. And, of course, if you're watching on Twitch, make sure to hit that follow button or subscribe button if you want to, get some cool emotes. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. And, of course, if you're listening on audio feeds, don't forget that subscribe button as well. Well, without further ado, Garrett, I think you have some things for us. Of course, I'm just going to leave this comment from Sean here. It's the Garrett's Things podcast.
Oh, thank you, Sean. It is the Garrett's Things podcast. I do have only 3 things, by the way, but I think one thing's a big thing, and I gotta lay it out here.
Okay,
Ryan. So Tuesday, so I get provided lunches from my company.
Okay.
Just like if you choose to, you can just go in and get your lunch. Tuesday, I order a particular item from a particular restaurant, and many other people do, like 15 to 20 people do.
Okay.
Like the same item. Wednesday, totally fine. Wednesday night, we were done. Like,
oh my God.
Food poisoning was rampant with not just me, but all these other people that ate the same exact food item. And so let me tell you, Ryan, this is the worst I've ever been, like, food poisoning wise, in a very long time. I don't think I've ever experienced it. It was pretty bad.
Like, it was probably like borderline going to the hospital bad, I'm assuming.
Yeah. It was like that point. I was like, like, if I was not going to sleep through the night, it was going to the hospital. But fortunately, I was able to sleep by like 2 a.m. or something like that.
That's good. Sleep's important. But yeah, that sounds rough. Oh my God.
Yeah. So Thursday, bedridden. Just like, I was like, get up, drink some water, eat up, I don't know, like a piece of crouton or bread or whatever, go back to bed. Just like, that's the whole day Thursday. So I didn't see all the Nintendo treehouse things at all. And of course, sick work day and whatever. Yesterday, a little bit better. And then this morning, I'm still on the mend. Like, it was bad, Ryan. Like, wow. Okay, there you go. That's my story.
And wait, that one restaurant destroyed like the entire productivity of your department, clearly.
No, it really did. It really destroyed productivity in our company. I think they're gonna probably look at, I don't know, some sort of action against it. But yeah, that was rough. That was really, really rough. But anyways, I'm here. I'm alive. So
that's
I got
good.
My coffee. First time I got coffee actually in 2 days. So I'm able to drink it. So
that's actually a big surprise because you drink, for the people who are new to the show, Garrett drinks a lot of coffee.
Yeah, by Thursday I could not drink coffee at all. Like, it was just, I was so done. But anyways, that's that. It was so weird though, because it was like a Tuesday lunch, and then Wednesday I was completely fine. Like, Wednesday morning, I looked at the Switch 2 reveal and everything over at the Nintendo Shack. I was with Donnie and Rebecca doing it live over there. I was completely fine working the whole day. It was just Wednesday night. It just,
well, that's usually how food poisoning works, because it has to like go through your body first before like you start feeling the effects of it. So it's definitely, it's like usually sometimes you don't even feel it till like the next day even.
I guess so, but it looked like it hit everyone pretty close at the same time. Like,
well, yeah, that makes sense.
Like,
they're
within
all like,
an hour, like, everyone was just like, yeah, we're done.
Yeah, I mean, if you all ate at the same time, it would make sense for it to kind of be around the same time.
It's so interesting how biology works. But anyways, so thing number 2, Ryan, Castlevania Circle of the Moon. I'm still
Yeah.
playing it. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah, it
hard
is.
video game. I didn't realize how hard it was. Like, did like, is it harder than Symphony of the Night? Because I feel like it is.
Yes, I think it
Okay.
is.
Okay.
I mean, people have differing opinions on that, but I personally think it is. It's also like part of the
pretty hard.
lineage of the Castlevania games is a lot of them are hard.
Okay. Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Especially going back to like the NES days. Like try going back, Garrett, and playing Castlevania 1. Even though that game's not super difficult, it's pretty hard.
No, I mean, like, I'm going through this game. And I'm like, I have to hit this boss and over and over again just because I don't know what to do. Like, what kind of powers do I use? Circle of the Moon's the one where you have the card system, right?
Yeah.
So you like mix up the two different card system that can give you different powers. And I got to the point where, okay, I have the stationary healing ability. So I kind of use that whenever I need to. Like, I'm in a safe spot and I'm like, okay, let me heal myself up and then go back into it. But man, like backtracking in this game, it's like, okay, you're going to backtrack, but there's going to be like super hard monsters.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to be the same monsters. I'm like, great, thanks, dude. Oh my gosh. So,
Well, they didn't want to make it too boring. You had to just jolt it with extra hard dudes to kill. It's fine.
but yeah, I'm like over halfway though. Like,
Okay.
I'm like, playing in bursts while I commute or when I have the chance to do it when I commute. So, but I just didn't realize how hard it was.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's like, I think all 3 Game Boy Advance games are pretty difficult. And then the DS ones, I haven't even played through all of them yet. So, but I've heard I think they're less difficult from what I've heard.
Gotcha. So, thing number 3. Okay, I've been looking up some shops to run into in the my road stop in Japan, and there's 2 major shops chains. I don't know. I'm sure you've heard of them. The Book Off.
Yes.
Okay.
I had to think about it for a second, but yeah, I've been there.
But yeah, Book Off is like a secondhand store. Looks like it's just any kind of secondary stuff that people kind of trade in.
Yeah, it's not just game stuff. There like in its name, there's a lot of books there, but there's also a lot of other like secondhand items as well.
Yeah, but there's like many Book Offs like within the city, and so it's just like, okay, whenever I'm in a shopping district or whatever, it's like, okay, let's just head on over to the Book Off, whatever. Akibara, there's a lot of shops.
Yep.
So I'm sure there's plenty of opportunity in Akibara.
What's going to be interesting when you go there, Garrett, is you're gonna wonder, hey, there are so many game shops, but also why are there so many stores that just sell copper wire? And like their whole thing is like they've got this giant spool of copper wire, and like they just cut you off like a section of copper wire to go home with.
Why?
I don't know. That's what I was wondering when I went there. I'm like, why are there so many stores that just sell
Do they
copper
have to
wire?
like wire their electricity or housing or something?
I don't know.
Or
But
their heating?
Last time I was there, like for example, when in the building where Super Potato is in, the upper part of you go up some stairs to go to Super Potato, but then on the bottom floor, it was this like blue shop that just sold just copper wire, and it was just a copper wire.
Interesting.
Store.
That is so interesting. Oh, okay. Anyways, there's Book Off. Of course, there's Super Potato, but I really doubt. Okay.
No, as we talked about before, like Super Potato, they know, like tourists know to go there, so it's expensive. So it's better to look at like you're doing the right thing, looking at Book Off and some of the other shops that are there.
And then there, no joke, there's a shop. It's a spinoff from Book Off. It's called Hard Off. I'm not even joking. That is an actual secondhand store for hardware.
I believe
electronics.
I believe you.
So that's another store I'm gonna have to go to. Is the Hard Off store in Akibara.
Get yourself like a nice like power drill or something. That'd be great.
Yeah, pretty much, and a 3DS. So
interesting.
I've been looking up prices online. It looks like it can widely really vary. It just depends on the special edition. You're getting a regular edition. It looks like some special editions, they can be really high in price. And I was like, nah, I'm not going for that. But
yeah,
I did see like, the Metroid one, the 3DS LL Metroid one for like equivalent to 200 USD. That's
okay.
I see that's pretty good. And I want to see if any kind of like normal like additions like any lower than that. So still on the lookout.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Yarden chimes in the chat and says, "Forget all that. Garrett's mission is to bring us all Switch 2s.
Well, if
But the Switch 2 won't be out when you go. I don't think.
Switch 2 will be out.
Oh, that's right. It is later.
It will be there, but you know Japan, it's harder to get a Switch 2 in Japan.
Yeah.
100% just because of the lottery-based system that's over there.
And especially with the lottery-based system, what if you win the lottery-based system only to be able to only buy the Japanese region-locked
Yeah,
one?
exactly. Only the Japanese region-locked Switch 2.
Yeah.
You need a Japanese Nintendo account.
Because that is the only one, only country that has one of those. So
Yeah. So
yeah.
unfortunately, that cannot be my mission over there. Other than that, I'll just have fun,
Nice.
eat some good food, and
You should. It'll be
Yeah.
fun. Honestly, we talked about it last week, but I think it's going to be an amazing trip. So
yeah, super can't wait. So,
cool.
anyways, that's my 3 things.
The 3 things are out of
No
the way.
more, no less.
Of course.
There
Of
we go.
course. Sean keeps calling out for 15 things, but I don't know if we'll ever get.
You know,
we'll ever
one
get
day I will do 15 things for Sean.
I
and it
feel
will
like
be-
Garrett, what you need to do is 1 week when I can't be on the show for X, Y, and Z reasons, just do a whole episode of just Garrett's things. You do that.
we'll have some RPGs in there, but also just like random things
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah. Well,
Sounds good.
it'll be the episode of Garrett's things. Exactly. Sean says he'll accept 12 things.
You'll accept 12? Okay. Challenge accepted.
Yeah. Now, Garrett, before we get into our 2 topics today, I have to talk about something that I mentioned on last week's episode.
Sure.
So on last week's episode, I mentioned that I had gotten a shipping notification from the NIS store. Because as folks that may or may not know,
Yes.
especially if this is one of your newer first episodes of the show, I have made a pact, Garrett, to not buy games for the first 6 months of this year. Basically until Canada Day, aka July 1st of this year, I will not be able to purchase new games. As part of that agreement, of course, I had mentioned that I had already pre-ordered 2 games in full last year. The Lunar Collection, which is coming out very soon in a couple weeks, and then Tales of Grace's F, which I already got earlier this year. So as a result, Garrett, I of course got a shipping notification because last September, I guess I pre-ordered the Atelier Yumiya Premium Edition, and it just came in the mail, and I
Wow.
didn't know what I was gonna do with it because, as we talked about on last week's show, is like, am I allowed to play this? Like, even though
I did pay for it.
I did pay
before.
for it last year in full. So after talking to the various members of the carpool community, the sense that I got from people is that I should just play it and
Okay.
not worry about it because of the fact that, again, it's similar to Lunar and Tales of Grace's F, where I did buy it last year legitimately, but I just forgot about it. And so I didn't disclose it in the way that those games, because again, if I remembered, then I would have just at the beginning of the year disclosed, hey, I bought this game, but I totally forgot to do that. So, Garrett, I want you to show it off real quick. This is my physical for the week. This is the Atelier Yumiya
That's
premium box.
definitely a special edition.
Yeah, look at the
That's a
art on
great,
the back
yeah.
here. It looks really
That's
cool.
some great art.
Yeah.
Right.
It has like an
Donnie,
art
pay
book.
attention.
Yes. Well, I mean, there's one piece in this box, Garrett, that Donnie would be a big fan of. There's a big art book in here,
Oh, a huge art book.
and there's some art in there that I think Donnie would be a big fan of.
Oh, of course. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's also like a soundtrack. It came with like a plushie and a whole bunch of stuff. So
Nice.
I have actually been playing it, Garrett. I played it for 6 hours yesterday,
Wow. Cool.
and I'm not gonna lie, I'm having a lot of fun. So, but I talked
That's
about
good.
that when we talked about it last week when talking about the demo. So I'm not going to get into that. We'll talk about it more
course.
after I finish the game. I think we'll talk about it then. But
Sounds good.
I wanted to at least put it out there that I decided, because last week on the show I wasn't sure if I was going to allow myself to play it, but I wanted to mention at least that this has been resolved. We played it. So
And you're playing it. That's fine. Totally cool. You did buy it before.
yeah, for sure. Like I said, I basically bought it like when it went on sale last year and totally forgot about it. But
Nice.
anyways, Garrett, I see a little exclamation point over there,
You do?
over a person's head. That means there's a side quest. So let's just march
cool.
on over there and go on a little side quest, because I don't know if you knew this, but I beat Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D this week.
You did, and wow, you did that pretty fast.
I basically did it in 2.5 days.
Jeez, man, world record. That's like Kevin. Kevin, you making a run for his money.
What's funny, Garrett, is that when I started being on the Xbox Drive with Sean, I actually used to go at Kevin's pace with a lot of games.
I know.
But then I had kind of slowed down over the last couple of years, mainly because I just played so much Final Fantasy 14. But I feel like I've got Kevin's pace at this point. In fact, Atelier Yumiya will be the 25th game I've beaten this year when I finish it.
Ooh, buddy.
That means technically I'm on pace to beat 100 games this year.
Not only, you I mean, you use a lot of your time to play games just because that's your free time.
Right,
but like also you're efficient.
Yeah.
Like, and Kevin's efficient too. I am not efficient with playing games at all. With Avowed, I'm like 40 hours in, and I'm still not done with Area 3.
Right. Yeah. But you're also like doing a lot of...
I'm doing every single side quest.
Like literally every single... And to be fair, I did almost all the side quests too, but I didn't explore, I think, as much as I probably should have.
Yeah. I explored everything in there. Because actually we don't have to get into Avowed right now. But there's a lot of things that you can miss in Avowed that's actually pretty cool. But anyways.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a great game. But Dragon Quest 3 HD-2D, I think the reason why I plowed through it so quickly, Garrett, is I was just having so much fun with it. Like it was refreshing how much fun I was having with it. And again, it's a really hard game that involves a ton of grinding. But what they do in this game is they allow you to up the battle speed to ultra fast.
That's good.
To like basically skip through all the animations and stuff like that. So battles go like super quick, which is great if you're going to just sit there and grind for 2 hours in one area to get your characters up to a level that they kind of need to go through it. But the story was great, and I love just the visual design of this game, Garrett. It looks so good, which is something we've talked about ever since we kind of seen that game for the first time. But I also loved seeing Toriyama's art in like the HD-2D style.
Nice.
Like some of the monster designs and stuff look so cool. Or even just the animations of like when, some of the enemies are casting spells and stuff like that. Look really, really interesting for this game. The open world was pretty cool to explore. There was a ton of like hidden areas, as they call them, that aren't really marked on the map that you can kind of go and explore. But also I like too that they give you a spell very early on in the game with their main character to basically be able to teleport around the world to any place that you've been to. So you can get across the world very quickly. So you're not like, even when you do have to backtrack, you're not like having to walk all the way there if you don't want to. Which is super nice because a lot of RPGs with their world maps don't allow you to do that. Kind of reminds me of Lunar in that way when you get the dragon wings and you can teleport everywhere.
Right.
I think that was really well done this time around. Also, I like too that in this version of the game you can really like they give you kind of like a standardized party if you want it, or you can totally customize your party to be whatever you want it to be. Like you can you have like a create a character room in the first town where you could basically build like you have like 4 appearance options for all the different classes for like male and female versions of the characters, and there's like 8 classes to choose from, and then what you can do is it's almost like Fire Emblem, Garrett, where once your character's level to a certain point, like past level 20, you can then choose to re-roll those characters as a certain class, but they'll retain half of what their stats are at level 20 at level 1, and then you'll basically re-level them. So you can what I found the key was, Garrett, was to basically level up your characters, basically prestige them like 3 times to kind of be like the final class that you want each of the characters in your party to be. Because then they're like really, really powerful towards the end of the game. Like you feel pretty powerful like once you kind of get over the initial difficulty hump in the early part of the game.
Question about that. So basically, are you saying that they're like when you prestige, it can be like a dual class, and then like another prestige is like a third class? So
they kind of act like a dual class in the sense that you retain all of the skills that you had from the previous class. And again, half of the stat points. So it almost feels your character is not only more powerful stat wise than a normal character that you would level from scratch, but you have all the abilities. For example, I had basically my one character that was a magic user. They started off as a cleric. to learn all the healing spells.
Right.
And then I had them switch to a mage to then learn all the magic like attacks. And then from there, what I then had them do is become a merchant, which gives you like extra gold and extra items when you defeat enemies. So they had all these magical attacks. They could basically be the healer as well. And also have all the merchant skills. So they kind of split up all three of them. Kind of like I had another character that, their final form was a thief, but they learned a bunch of martial art skills from, being the martial artist, and also these monster wrangling skills. So they had a bunch of monster abilities from monsters that you kind of collect in the world along the way. So yeah, like you have a lot of choice as to how you're going to like grow your party. So I found that like super interesting and cool.
Was there any incentive to like advance the original class again, or is it just like you kind of just want to jump around?
You could, in theory, do the original class, do something else, and then go back to the original class, and then just be a more powerful version of that class. So there is incentive to do that, but it's not like. But once I discovered that the system was there, I didn't do that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It looks like the good strategy is, as you said, to jump around for one character through like 3 different classes.
Yeah.
And like,
because you're not going to want to probably have them prestige more than twice. So you want to kind of make like whatever third class they're going to be like the class they're going to kind of stick with.
The ultimate one.
Yeah.
Cool.
But they become more and more powerful as you do that. So and not only that, but like re-leveling your characters is super easy because your hero, kind of the main character, you can't do that with the main character, but the main character kind of learns a bunch of different abilities from different classes anyway. So there's no incentive to do that. So as a result, what you do is you take all your level 1 characters into like a fight with an enemy on the field that's like level 20, and then they basically jump up 6 levels, and then because the increase like the enemies don't scale where you are, so they can kind of like you can re-level your characters really quickly.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So it's not as much of a downside as you would think to kind of like start over again with them.
Yeah, it's very similar to like Fire Emblem.
Exactly.
In a sense. Except, you're not, taking a deeper class or tree. You're just kind of bouncing around different classes.
Exactly.
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah. And kind of learning the abilities of different classes and kind of like mixing and matching that way.
Cool.
But yeah, dude, this game was a lot of fun. Like as we talked about on the show, like I'm not a Dragon Quest person. Like Dragon Quest 11, I was not into. Dragon Quest 8, I was not into. I kind of felt the same way about 7 as well. But this one, I don't know what it was about this one, but
you blew through it, man.
I was just really, really into this game. The story is also not terrible when you consider like the writing for a lot of NES games is not great. But I do think like the story is pretty good, and it also like I like how it kind of like teases things with Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD that we're getting later this year, where they even announce in the game, because originally, Garrett, they didn't announce ahead of time that they were doing 1 and 2 HD. It was actually in the credits of this game that they announced 1 and 2 HD, essentially.
Oh, interesting.
And then after that, we got the official announcement that everyone kind of heard about I think it was the Nintendo Direct. So,
right.
Yeah. All in all, I'm like way more excited now for 1 and 2 HD after playing this one. But this is one like I really, really enjoyed. But I will say to those that are new to RPGs, like do not hop into this game right away. Play some other turn-based role-playing games first before playing this one, because again, it can be pretty difficult. It can be grindy, but I do think it was well worth the trip. Because like I said, once I got over kind of the initial bump of the damage difficulty, other than some boss fights that I kind of struggled with a little bit, like I felt pretty powerful throughout the game after a certain point.
Cool. Sounds good. Yeah, I have it on my Steam Deck. It's ready to go. It's ready to be played. Just when I'm gonna play it, I'm not too sure. I want to get through Avowed, and then I do want to play Dragon Quest 3 HD-2D like pretty badly.
Yeah.
But also I got some couple of Switch games I want to get through as well. So
yeah,
we'll see when I have the time to get through it. But how many hours did it take you to get through?
It took me about 30 hours to finish.
30 hours? Yeah. Yeah. That's what I hear. It's about 30 hours to get through. So what did you think about, like, let's say the navigation throughout, like, Dragon Quest 3? Like, were you
So-
able? Yeah, go ahead.
There's two different ways that you can do the navigation.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it the classic old school method, where you have to listen to everyone talk and not know where to go, or hear me out. You can turn on the option where it just tells you where to go next,
Oh, okay, that's great.
which is way better. Like,
No,
I'm
that's a game
sorry,
changer.
but like listening to the townspeople try and talk about it, they're also kind of cryptic a little bit, so it's not like super clear. It's kind of like Zelda 2 in that way, where it's not always super clear as to where to go next. Like I would have had to use a guide if it wasn't pointing me where to go. So I was just like, forget it. I'm just turning on this accessibility feature, and I honestly, I'm very glad that Square put that in there, because I think it really helped with the navigation and kind of figuring out where to go.
Yeah, no, that's seriously a game changer with these kind of classic RPGs. Like, because always, whenever I go back to one, it's like, where do I go to next? I have to look up a guide, figure that out. But yeah,
Well, not only that, it's like it tells you where to go next, but it won't tell you what to do there.
Okay.
And sometimes it's pretty obvious when you go to the location what you're supposed to do next. But sometimes, Garrett, it's not, because in this game there's actually, and this goes all the way back to the original version of the game on the NES, but there's a day-night cycle in this game, and
really?
sometimes what you'll do is you'll go to a town, and you won't be able to do anything in that town. You won't be able to get to the objective or do anything because it's the middle of the day. So you need to sleep at the inn until the evening to then go back into that town, and then all of a sudden you'll be able to do the objective again. Or there's little things like that, that even though it'll tell you where to go, it's not super obvious. So at least that way you're still figuring some stuff out on your own.
That's good. Now, is this one of the first games that has done day and night cycle?
It is.
Wow, because like the first one I can think of is Pokemon Silver and Gold.
Yeah.
And so this must have been very unique. Very
Yeah,
novel
it's one
at
of
the
the. I think it has to be at least one of the earliest, if not the earliest, game with a actual day-night cycle in it.
Okay,
But
cool.
and then what's nice too is that even though you have to pay to sleep at the inn to do that, eventually you'll learn a spell with the main character to change day to night essentially. So you can make that transition very easily. Otherwise, you can just sit on the open world map and just wait for the time to pass. It'll work that way too.
Cool.
But-
Sounds good.
Yeah, this game was great. Honestly, I can't wait for the next one later this year. But
Yeah. Do we have a date with that?
Not
The
just-
Dragon.
just 2025.
Okay, and it's coming to Switch 1 still,
Yep.
and everywhere else. And again, guys, so Dragon Quest 3 HD-2D, it is if you going by just sequential order, this is the first.
Yep.
And then you play 1 and 2 later, and that's why they released it like this. So, yeah.
Yeah, because it's the beginning of the Erdrick saga.
The Erdrick saga, yeah.
Yeah, it's the very first one in the timeline. Because again, you'll see when you play through the story, the events here lead into events that I actually remember from the first Dragon Player game on NES. So
Wow.
yeah, but cool. So that's Dragon Quest 3 HD-2D. But Garrett, it is now time for us to read from the sacred texts.
Oh.
Because it's Nintendo Switch 2 week, Garrett. And
It is.
everyone is excited about the Switch 2. Of course, I was on the Nintendo Drive this week talking about Switch 2. You were on Nintendo Shack talking about Switch 2. We were both on Nintendo Podcast this week. So I'm very excited to talk to you about the RPGs of Switch 2. And initially I thought, during the showcase that there weren't going to be that many. But then when I was putting this list together, I'm like, oh, there's actually
It's
a
quite
lot
a bit.
more than I thought there was going to be.
It's quite a bit, actually, yeah. So, pretty cool.
Well, so before I get into this, Garrett, obviously we know that pre-orders were taken down in the U.S. at the time of this recording. So we might not be able to pre-order it right away. But when pre-orders reopen, Garrett, are you in for Switch 2? What is your read on Switch 2? I'm just curious before we start talking about the games.
Yeah, so my mentality with Switch 2 is always since ever since Switch 2 got really announced. Is that if there's a dedicated Switch 2 exclusive that I'm really wanting to get, then I'll consider it day one. Because I really like Mario Kart World or whatever, and then I've seen Donkey Kong Bonanza, really cool games. Those aren't the games that are gonna give me on Switch 2 day one. So I am actually gonna wait. I don't feel like the need to really jump on this. So even going throughout, I'm very excited to see the games coming out on Switch 2. It's very cool to see all the different RPGs coming on Switch 2. But as I think that this is just ground zero, like for what kind of games that are gonna come out on Switch 2. Like definitely by next year, we're gonna have some sort of Xeno whatever or Fire Emblem. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna wait it out, and especially as we go through the list here, those are some good eye catchers, but there's a lot just like coming from different systems are available elsewhere. It's cool to see upgraded versions. I was actually very surprised with Nintendo's presentation. Like, here is Metroid Prime 4 Beyond on quality mode, 60 frames per second. They were talking about frames, Brian.
Yeah, I know. It was so weird because they never talk about frames traditionally on any of their stuff, even on Treehouse, Garrett. They're talking about a lot about frames on Treehouse, which was
They were
crazy.
talking about frames, and they were talking about resolution. I'm like, who are you people? Because I've never heard you say those numbers before in my life.
You can tell the young blood is kind of taking a little bit of control over on the messaging part of the Switch stuff now.
I think so. I think they're understanding. Oh, these kids kind of understand tech a little bit more than what we give them credit for.
Yeah,
and they value this, and it's. I think they kind of look at the hardcore audience for these numbers, right? And for the people who get the PC handhelds, like. They're really digging into the specs and digging into like, okay, what's the frames, what's the resolution, what's the screen, stuff like that. And that's why they have to really describe it. And you know what, they did a really good job in terms of just like laying it out in that perspective with a lot of games. Really cool to see. But again, there's not a game in this one that's exclusive to Switch 2 that's not going to give me on day one.
For sure.
And
again, we're going to get, when we get into this, there's a lot of games here that like, if Switch is your primary system, or if, or likewise, if you have these games on Switch 1, like you would rather play any one of these games we're about to talk about on Switch 2 rather than Switch 1.
Yes.
Because I think like some of them are really going to be worth it. But yeah, I mean, I can definitely understand that logic, Garrett. For me, Metroid Prime 4 is easily my most anticipated game of the year. And I don't want to play it on Switch 1. I want to play it on Switch 2. I want to play with those mouse controls. I want to have
mouse
the
controls,
high.
man.
But it kind of
cool.
you laugh about those mouse controls, Garrett. But like when I played Prime 3 or 1, 2, and 3 on the Wii with the pointer controls, it was so much more fun to play than playing with the traditional controls that they had there. So as a result, I was like, okay, well, that kind of the mouse controls kind of remind me of playing those games that way, and that's why I'm actually really eager to try playing it that way. But Metroid Prime, like as a result, like I'm basically day one on Switch. None of that, but like in Canada, the way hardware has kind of worked has been really interesting this console generation. Where at this point, the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X both cost more in Canada now than they did when they came out.
That's what I hear.
So as a result, it actually behooves me to actually pick up the console as quickly as I can if I want it this year, or even next year, because the longer I wait, the more expensive it'll probably end up becoming.
Which is so weird, but yeah, that's how it is, I guess. Historically, with Xbox and PlayStation, and
or
Canada
even Switch
specifically, right?
Even the Switch OLED, like the Switch OLED here has not ever received a sale at all. It's never gone on sale. They did like the Mario Wonder bundle for the same price as the Switch 2, giving you kind of a pseudo discount because you get a free game with it, but it hasn't been cheaper.
Yeah, US is the same as well for OLED, Switch OLED. I think they also increased the price in Europe as well, the PlayStation and Xbox. So
yeah, I'm expecting the same thing to happen here too. Just for currency exchange alone will be the reason for that they'll justify that, because that's what happened with PlayStation and Xbox. So since I'm in the Canadian market, there's more incentive for me to want, if I'm interested in this console at all, I should consider getting it right away. Is kind of like the incentive that's there. Not only that, but honestly, during this period, Garrett, where I haven't been able to buy games, I've been playing my Switch a lot more because I just have so many more of my backlog games are just sitting on Switch because I bought them, a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago when I wasn't playing Switch all that often. And now that time, the time of the backlog is here, Garrett, that I've been able to go through a lot of stuff on Switch. So I've been playing a lot more. So I'm actually like, it's very comfortably like my secondary system along with the PlayStation 5. So
Pretty cool. Yeah. I mean, there's still so many Switch games I would love to play.
Yeah.
And that's another thing why I'm like, okay, I don't really need a Switch 2 right now because I have such a backlog on my
like that's
Switch
the thing.
1.
I think in the next 3 months I will have blown through most of that backlog. So I'm like, I will be perfectly primed for that. But in your case, Garrett, I that definitely makes more sense where you have a time where you just backlog.
And actually, I do want to, honestly, I do want to hold off playing Tears of the Kingdom. It's like, wow, okay, so if I'm gonna wait out on an updated free version of Tears of the Kingdom, I'm gonna wait until I get a Switch 2. I don't know, in 2 years, next year. I'm really wondering when, I wouldn't say a refresh, but let's say a mini version. I would love to see a Switch 2 Lite. Of some kind. I don't know if they will do that just because of the split sales wise. It wasn't too historically too great for Switch 1. But I'm also interested just what else can they do? Like, I wouldn't say mid-gen, maybe mid-gen.
I actually think the Switch 2 Lite, because of the price of the Switch 2, will probably be a bigger hit than the Switch Lite would have been. Especially for families, because I think like they're trying to get families with this console, but the way it's priced right now, families are not going to be able to buy more than one or two of them. Whereas if they had a Switch 2 Lite, I think they would be able to get a lot more families on board, which would sell more software. So I think the strategy is to do that with this one.
That would be cool, and I would be interested to see what that looks like.
Yeah.
So.
Also, you brought up a good point with Tears of the Kingdom, which is what's funny is that I actually have Tears of the Kingdom and Kirby and the Forgotten Land both in the shrink wrap on my shelf. I haven't played them. I meant to play them as part of this, time where I can't play games. But now that I know that there's the Switch 2 upgrades, especially Tears of the Kingdom, because since I'm a Switch Online member, I don't have to pay for that upgrade. So I will literally pop in my cartridge and play it. And that is what I'm going to say. I think that'll actually be the first Switch 2 game I play is Tears of the Kingdom.
I know it's for Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. I don't know about Kirby. Is Kirby a free upgrade as well?
No, you have to pay $20 for it. Because and Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild are not free upgrades either. It's $10 for them. But they're free with NSO.
Yeah, they're free with NSO, but I don't think Kirby is.
No, it's not.
Kirby's not. Okay, cool.
Because Kirby, they added an expansion to it. So.
I know people are going crazy about the price of Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild Switch 2 version and Kirby, and it's just like, that's just because it's the regular price plus the upgrade pack.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why the price.
It's essentially like the digital deluxe edition of those, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So I'm all in on day one. I know you're a little down the road, but I know you'll be getting it up eventually. So, so let's talk about the RPGs that are on Switch 2. Now, again, these are the only ones announced at the time of this recording. If more get announced this week, if you're listening to the audio version, this is what we had announced as of Saturday of this week. And we're going to kind of go in order with what's available launch day, in the launch window, and then the rest of the games coming out this year, and then a couple for next year that we got. So let's start with the launch day games, Garrett. And first up, your game, Garrett, the backlog game, Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition, is coming out launch day. It's on a 64 gig cart. Apparently, they're putting the whole game on the cartridge.
Yes, they are, and it's the performance mode. Apparently, it's going to be 40 FPS.
Yep.
But okay, and then also understand, guys. So, the screen on the Switch 2 is 120 hertz.
Yep.
VRR. So it's much better to do VRR with, let's say, in multitudes of either 30 frames or 40 frames. And with the 40 frames, with this 120 hertz versus the Switch 1 screen. So it's going to look a lot smoother than people give it credit for. It's going to look a lot. It's not going to be looking as choppier. So 30 to 40 frames is going to make a huge difference.
Yeah, like I don't have a VRR TV anymore, so it's going to look worse on my TV than if I played it in handheld mode. But I think this game is going to look really great on just in handheld.
I just listened to kind of an impressions video of Cyberpunk, but it's an early build, so just a little salt there. I hear it's a little crunchy, on the Switch too. So don't expect it to be as good as an Xbox Series or PS5 version or anything like that. It's going to be, and actually, I would say don't expect it to be as optimized as compared to a Steam Deck version or a ROG Ally, because it's very well optimized over there right now. So if they pull it together, maybe they will improve it by launch day. But what I'm hearing, it's not as well performing.
Yeah. Which is too bad, because again, this is one of those games where it's kind of like The Witcher. The
Witcher 3,
where it's just like you got that game to run on the Switch too. I hope they pull it out with that one. But moving on, Garrett. Deltarune Chapter 1 through 4 is coming out on launch day. I am so freaking excited that Deltarune Chapter 1 through 4 is coming. And I also saw your reactions, and I also saw Rebecca freaking out too. I love Deltarune Chapter 1. I think it's fantastic. I never played Chapter 2 though, because I was like, I kind of want to wait for all of it to kind of come out. And even though this isn't the end, because they're going, I think Toby Fox said they want to do 7 chapters of Deltarune.
That's a lot. Wow.
Yeah, I think that this is going to be a great package launch day. And I'm definitely like day one on this, because I love, like I said, I love Chapter 1. I love Undertale. So I'm super stoked for Deltarune.
I want to play Undertale and I want to play Deltarune, but it's just I haven't gotten to it yet. So
yeah,
pretty cool. Yeah, you saw Rebecca. This is probably the most excited game she like she anticipated for the Switch too. It's like when she saw this, she was going crazy with this one versus any other game that was in the Switch 2 presentation. So good for them. Good for the people that are really into. I mean, I really do hear that it is a special game, Undertale and Deltarune. So
that's what I mean. Like I feel like at some point, Garrett, we need to make you play Undertale, because I think
you can make it a required reading, because I hear it's short. I hear it's like not.
Yeah, it's not super long.
Not
because there's a lot of replay value to it, because there's
there's a lot of choice based stuff. Yeah.
So that's why they made it so it's like shorter.
I'll play it on my Vita. That's why I'll do it.
That's a good way to do it. Next up, Garrett, this is a game I know you're excited about.
Yeah.
Bravely Default Flying Fairy HD Remaster coming launch day. The big Square Enix launch title for the Switch 2 is in fact an HD remaster of an old.
Isn't that crazy?
It's a 3DS game, which is funny. At the same time, Garrett, I watched them play this during the Treehouse, and it looks really good. It actually looks really solid.
It does look really good. It looks, very buttery smooth. It has good lighting effects in there. I don't know if I still will wait to play this game on Switch 2. I think I still play it on my 3DS just because I'm so far in.
Yeah, I was about to ask you about that because I know that you had that picked for your tournament bracket, but at the same time, I think it makes more sense for you to play it on 3DS, especially since you're going to wait on Switch 2 anyways. You said.
Yeah, and I'm also really far in. Not really far in. I'm like 25 hours in on my 3DS chapter, my 3DS playthrough of it, and it plays fine. It plays really well on the 3DS. So. But it looks really good on the Switch 2. It's just so surprising that it's, well, not surprising at the same time. It is a Switch 2 exclusive, but is it really needing to be Switch 2 exclusive? I think
Nintendo's publishing it though. But you're right. Could it not run on Switch 1? Obviously, I think it probably could.
I've been predicting Bravely Default and Bravely Second being on Switch 1 for the longest time.
Yeah.
It's like, we're going to have an HD remaster of these two games, but we never got it.
Yeah.
Now we see it, and it's a launch day. It's like, that sucks. And for those physical edition buyers out there, it kind of sucks for this game because it's a game key card only
game,
which is a very... it's an interesting move, and I guess that's a Square Enix move.
It is very much a Square Enix move.
Cyberpunk, it was like, yeah, let's put the whole thing on the 64 gig cart, and then here's like, yeah, we're not gonna waste 11 gig. Well, maybe it's like a size 2, like there's a minimum size that they can only buy for the Switch 2 cart. Maybe it is a 64 gig, and this is such a small size. This is like 11 gigabytes.
Yeah, they're probably just like, it's not even worth the space. Right.
Well, yeah, it's not worth the space, and like the cost and benefit of that is just too low.
Yeah.
Or is it too high? Right. So, yeah, I think that's why they did game key card only. So yeah, just buy it digitally. It won't make a difference.
Yeah.
Like you shouldn't get the physical edition.
I mean, honestly, at this point, Garrett, I mean, the way I look at the Switch 2, I'm probably mostly going digital only for it at this point.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Because like there's just so many cases like that where it's the game card key, and I'm just like, well, why am I even bothering paying for getting the physical version at that point? Like that's the way I look at it. Because that was one of the nice things about getting physical games for Switch 1 is a lot of them had most of the game on it, and then you just downloaded the update for whatever you need.
You know what really saved me for the Switch 1 was like getting the physicals, just because it saves on space for me.
Right.
Like I don't have to pay more for my micro SD card space in order to like get all my games installed. Like, okay, I can bring my select physical editions of these game cards over, so I really have been on my 500 gig micro SD card for the longest time. It was like for the past 5 years or something.
And now you got to swap it out with a micro SD Express, which are very expensive.
That's another thing that's like, oh, geez, I don't want to do that with Switch 2. Like, that's another like barrier of entry for this.
Yeah.
And so when I look into Switch 2, and as you said, you're going to be digital only. It's like, I want to be digital only as well. But like, if a physical edition is going to save me space, it's just like, well, that's a good option.
But that's the thing. If most of them are game card keys only, it's not really saving you space.
Well, I'll have to go case by case here. Like with Cyberpunk, definitely.
Cyberpunk 100% is one of those games where it's like, if you are at all interested in that game, buy it physically.
Yeah. And what's really interesting with these game sizes, I looked at the it was the Japanese website or whatever.
Yeah.
It's actually on par or like maybe a little more, a little less of the game card size than the Switch 1 version, which I find pretty interesting. So
also what's interesting as well,
keeping it lean. Yeah.
Is looking at game sizes like Kirby and the Forgotten Land, the Switch 2 version with the bonus content is actually smaller than the Switch 1 version of the game digitally. So it's like, I think you're going to have cases like that where, similar to what we saw with PS5 and Series X games, is like, because there's going to be the faster read times on them. They probably don't have to, like, the games won't balloon in size as much, I think.
Yes.
You'll still have the games from 2K that'll still be super big. But I think for the most part, I think especially first-party Nintendo games are going to be on the smaller side.
Yeah, and also to note that, these 4K visuals or whatever is kind of obvious that this is going to be some sort of AI upscaling technology that's happening. Because if you actually put 4K texture packs into these game cards, it's done. Like, it's not going to be 64 gigs.
No,
absolutely not. It's going to be well over 100 gigabytes per game. So I think it's a mixture of that. It's faster read times and just the power of the NVIDIA Tegra AI upscaling stuff. So
yeah,
cool.
So either way, I'm excited for Bravely Default. Like,
are you gonna get it?
If I can get a Switch 2 at launch, I will buy this on July 1st when I can buy games again.
Okay.
That's the rule. Same with Deltarune will be the same way. Like, in fact, when I buy my Switch 2, Garrett, since it comes out on the 5th of June, I won't be able to buy games, but I'm allowing myself to buy the Mario Kart bundle.
Okay, you're getting the Mario Kart bundle. I find
if I can get it.
Yeah, so it's interesting to see those two different separate SKUs. I wonder who's anyone gonna get the single only console. To be honest with you,
I think it's going to be the only people who will get those will be people who want to Switch 2, but they can't get anything else because scalpers are buying up the consoles.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right? Like that. Those are the only people that will probably not buy the Mario Kart bundle.
Because like even for me, it's like it's kind of obvious to like just tag on another $50 to get or just, a discounted price to get probably the most popular Switch 2 game.
Well, it's a game
That'll
you're
be
going to
out
want
there.
anyways, because it's a $70 difference between the bundles here in Canada,
Mm-hmm.
but a Mario Kart World is a $100 game here in Canada.
It's crazy, man.
So
it's crazy.
It's easily a great discount. So,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a game I wanted anyways. So, like Deltarune and Bravely Default are two of the games I want to get in the little launch window, kind of when I can buy games on July 1st. Those will be kind of probably my first two pickups. We also have Hogwarts Legacy, Garrett. Hogwarts Legacy already exists on Switch, but it's getting a brand new Switch 2 version that you can upgrade with an upgrade pack if you want to. In fact, a couple of these that we're going to talk about here are also on Switch 1. I should mention, and Hogwarts Legacy is one of them. It looks like it actually looks not terrible on Switch 2 versus the Switch 1 version, which is not good.
It looks playable.
Yes, exactly. I'm curious if WB is going to go back and do a lot of their other games like Mortal Kombat 1 and stuff for Switch 2.
Yeah, that would be cool. You never know with WB though. They have some interesting business decisions here and there.
That's true.
Some unconventional ones. They were really into, making a definitive edition of Hogwarts Legacy, and they just chopped that off apparently. So they're probably full steam ahead with Hogwarts Legacy 2.
That's what they said.
And all right. So good for them.
Yeah.
Trying
Also,
to make
real
that
quick
money.
before I move on, I'm going to point out Sean's comment here because I was very surprised about this. Sean mentions they missed their chance to announce Project Bravely Default. And I was just like, we talked about it in last week's show where I was kind of expecting Square Enix to announce like a brand new
Project.
IP and then have it be like Project Triangle Strategy or Project Octopath Traveler. I was kind of hoping we'd get another one of those.
That would be
things,
great.
but that didn't happen.
No.
So next up, we got this announced after
Yes.
the Treehouse, where this is also coming on launch day, a Switch 2 version of Suikoden 1 and 2 HD remastered. We don't know what the differences between the Switch 2 version and the Switch 1 version are, but it's also a game card key game. Garrett?
Oh, really? Jeez.
Yeah.
I think I think this is going to be a repeated kind of practice with these smaller games.
Yeah.
Like if it's going to be less than X gigabytes, it's like, what's the point of buying a 64 gigabyte cart?
You say this, but I think Capcom announced that Street Fighter 6 is going to be one of those, and it's 50 gigs. So.
Yeah, but I think Capcom. What was the other game that they're releasing too? I think they're just gonna do it in general for the game key cards.
That's probably right. But yeah, that was.
But yeah,
that
you're
one,
right. Street Fighter as well.
Yeah, that's Suikoden announcement. Just kind of came out of nowhere. Oh, Kinutsugami was the other game that they're doing.
Oh, Kinutsugami. Yeah.
Yeah, which I don't even think.
I don't think they'll get a physical edition.
That game never had a physical edition on the other consoles. So
No, they didn't.
I don't think it'll have a physical edition here either. But yeah, Suikoden 1 and 2 HD remastered. We don't know the differences. We're doing it coming to Switch 2, day 1. So those are all the launch day RPGs, Garrett. So moving on, June 19th, Raido remastered The Mystery of the Soulless Army. We talked about that last week. It's coming to Switch 1, also coming to Switch 2 the same day.
Interesting. So it's going to be a separate Switch 2 SKU and everything?
Separate Switch 2 SKU and everything.
I mean, it kind of makes sense. It's going to just be, up-res, 60 frames. It's going to be similar to, I would say, the Xbox and PlayStation version. So, okay.
Yeah. And also, that was the only... I'm very surprised. After we talked about it last week, I'm very surprised that's the only Atlas RPG we got.
That's very surprising. I am so surprised we did not see a Persona game, a Metaphor game.
Yeah. Especially like Persona 3 Reload or Metaphor, since neither of those are on Switch 1.
Or even Shin Megami Tensei Upgrade. Like,
well,
something.
They did. Yeah, you're right. Because they have... Actually, no, I think there is a free upgrade coming for Vengeance. I think.
Oh, really? There is a free upgrade for Vengeance? Okay.
I think they announced like a free update patch is coming.
Okay.
It won't make it a Switch 2 version, but it'll be like an update patch for Switch 1 that'll give you some benefits for Switch 2.
Got it.
Because there's a bunch of games like that, like Xenoblade Chronicles
Xenoblade
X
will do that. Yeah.
is doing that, as well as a bunch of other games. So, moving on, Garrett. Borderlands 4, September 23rd. I called it. I mentioned it on kind of our predictions last week. I figured that Randy Pitchford would show up here. Sure enough, Randy Pitchford showed up. with
What a
Borderlands 4.
creepy guy, man. Every time I see him, I'm like, I do not want to invite you to any party of mine. So, but anyways, Borderlands 4, you were correct, Ryan. 100%. So
It's also one of those things, Garrett,
it.
where I think like this is where I pick up Borderlands 4. Because like it's such a
Really?
fun game to play portably. And I think like this seems like the best case scenario for that game for me.
You are correct. Yes. I did play, what was it? What was the previous game?
Tiny Tina?
Tiny Tina. I did play Tiny Tina's Wonderlands on Steam Deck, and it was great.
Yeah.
Even though it didn't like run perfectly, it was just like, this is really nice to like just watch TV and then just play a little bit here and there and not pay attention to the story at all.
Because don't get me wrong, it'll look great on my PlayStation 5 Pro, Garrett. But the scenario you just talked about, you described, is exactly the way I want to play that game.
Exactly. Yeah. And then the Borderlands 3 Ultimate Edition coming to Game Pass
Yep.
this
That's
week,
out
which
today.
is really cool.
You can go play it.
Yeah. I think I want to go through a Borderlands 3 playthrough of my Game Pass. So
Interesting.
because I have not played the DLC at all for that.
Okay. I don't think it does it include both the season 2 stuff as well, because there's a bunch
I think so.
There's a ton of DLC for that game.
There's so many DLC. Yeah. It's interesting to see all of it in Game Pass. But yeah, Borderlands 4, at the same time, it's not surprising to see this coming out day one on Switch 2. I think, one, Gearbox is kind of like needing this. It's like, okay, we've optimized really well for Borderlands 3, 2, and 1 on Switch, and we got to get more of that crowd. So we have to get this day one on Switch 2. So happy to see Borderlands 4 coming out day one on Switch 2. I'm interested to hear the performance of this game, how well they optimized it. The Switch 2, I don't know about Borderlands 3, but Borderlands 2 on Switch 1 is okay. It's it's like 30 frames, but like it still plays really well. I would not play split screen.
No.
Do not play I would even play split screen on a console in general.
I think a lot of third-party games in general on Switch 1, the common advice is to not play split screen unless it's a first-party game.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm looking forward to Borderlands 4. We'll see how it performs.
Yeah, I honestly, I think that's going to be a pretty good game on Switch too. Because and likewise, I think there will probably be a performance mode like at 60 frames per second.
Yeah.
Even if it's 720 in portable mode, like I think that's totally fine if you play it that way.
1080p 60 is easily doable, I think.
Yeah.
With this. So
yeah,
cool.
Well, next, those are all the games that we have dates for, Garrett. Other than like solid dates, we have a bunch of 2025 stuff that I'll get into now, and of course, first off, Garrett. We got brand new NSO system added.
Yes.
With a few RPGs announced for it, which I'm kind of surprised about.
Me too.
Nice. None of these are day one, but they are supposed to come out sometime this year because they're going to be added kind of over time. The first one, Garrett, which I'm very excited about because I've never played this game because it's stupidly expensive.
Yes, it is.
Fire Emblem Path of Radiance is coming to GameCube at NSO. Whoo, doggy! I'm so excited actually to play this game for the first time when it comes to Switch 2.
When they showed off the initial lineup for this GameCube one, I was like, that's crazy to see. The Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, I think that just destroyed the resale market.
It's going to be for a lot of the other two games I'm about to talk about are also expensive. And also Chibi Robo, which is not a role-playing game, is like one of the most expensive GameCube games.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's up there. It's not as expensive as, I think, I can't remember if it's Cubivore or it's something else. Or Gotcha Force. I know those are like two of the most expensive games on GameCube. But these next two I'm about to mention are also up there too, as well. Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, Garrett.
Oh, man.
Super expensive. Apparently a really good game too. And then Pokemon Coliseum, also on GameCube as well. So
Ryan, I have such fond memories of these two games. So much. I really enjoyed both of these Pokemon games. And I sold them.
yeah.
I sold them back in 2011 or 12 or something for like, I don't know, to Amazon Return, or, they did the trade-in stuff. It's like, oh yeah, I could get $60 for XD Gale of Darkness.
Oh my God. that was not a good deal. But I
That
mean,
was
you
the
would have had
worst
to hold on to it for another 10 years. So
Yeah, but I should have done that. But I have such fond memories of both of these games. These are great Pokemon games. Especially, I think Colosseum is fine. It's like a very
it's a battle heavy game. Like
it's very battle heavy. Gale of Darkness has a story and like it has some sort of mechanic separate than the Pokemon turn-based battle stuff, which I find pretty interesting. There's like there's a bunch of dark Pokemon everywhere, and you have to figure out how to like purify them. So there's a lot of cool stuff. So I'm very excited for the Pokemon fans out there to get back into both of those games because I think after the Gale of Darkness, the console Pokemon games have been pretty like non-existent or pretty meh, or just stadium like stuff. But yeah, as you said, Fire Emblem Path of Radiance never had a chance of getting this game. Very excited to see a Fire Emblem game coming, even though it's not going to be the Fire Emblem game we expected.
But it's also
one.
a new Fire Emblem game that neither of us have played. Like
That's true.
And it's included with our subscription. Like, dude, I'm so stoked to play this game.
Honestly, these 3 games is probably the most excited games I am for Switch 2. So that's why I'm kind of like waiting it out. It's like, okay, my most anticipated games on Switch 2 are GameCube games. So
which is funny to think about,
bit.
but that's just how that works. Well, next up, Garrett, the old chestnut, the game that we talked about a lot on this show recently, Pokemon Legends ZA. It's getting a Switch 2 version. They got a new trailer, and I don't know about you, but this game looks so much better on Switch.
It looks so good.
Even from what the little
2.
bit that they showed, it looks so much better, like noticeably better.
It's kind of crazy to see it, man. I'm just like, wow. Okay, that's it's that can push people over the edge. That's going to push Pokemon people over the edge, especially the people who complained a lot about the graphics of Scarlet and Violet. It's like, all right, Switch 2 for ZA for 1080p 60 frames.
Yeah.
It looks so crisp. It looks so clear. It looks like an emulated game.
Yeah, it really does. That's what I mean. Like, it actually looks like it's going to be like really, really good. So yeah, and combined with the fact that I think as we talked about before, I personally think the gameplay looks really fun. So between that and the visuals getting the bump, like I think this game is going to be pretty solid on Switch 2.
Also, Scarlet and Violet will get upgrade packs.
I was just about to say that. I was just about to say that, which is just, I can't wait to see what Scarlet and Violet look like. It's going to be interesting.
Not a complete mess. Oh my gosh, the loading, the chugging in that game. It's insanity.
Oh my God, dude. I can't wait to see that game too. But moving on, Elden Ring is coming to Switch 2.
Yeah.
Hooray. Please
Elden Ring, I think it's called Tarnished Edition.
It is the Tarnished Edition. It includes the base game and Shadow of the Erdtree.
Which is a good price. I think it's $70, right? For all of that. That's a very good deal. On the Switch 2. So
the only reason why I'm feigning excitement for this, Garrett, is because I wonder how this is going to run on Switch 2, because this is a game that already famously has performance issues even on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. So
yeah, it actually runs pretty okay on Steam Deck. Yeah. If you let it run high TDPs, it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, it's just the frame rate is like wildly inconsistent on the home consoles. So I'm interested to see how this runs on Switch 2.
I think I'm more optimistic just because it has the VRR capabilities. Yeah, true. And also, well, at least on handheld. And then it can vary between 40 and 30 and 60 frames. So yeah, we'll see how Elden Ring plays on. But yeah, I was actually looking into, I was watching a video. One of my great YouTubers, what was it called? RGC, right? Retro Game Core. He did a whole Switch 2 thing, but he does a lot of emulation stuff. He was talking about the TDP breakdown of the Switch 2, and he really broke it down nicely. But basically, he got to the point where the Switch 2 is only going to be really capable of, like, let's say an 8 watts, like as high as 8 watts on your handheld, which is not very high TDP. The battery life is pretty good, actually, 2 to 6.5 hours. But versus like a ROG Ally X or Steam Deck can go up to like 20 TDP, 20 watts or whatever. And then a ROG Ally can go up to like 35, 38. So handheld wise, it's actually quite limited in the TDP.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. But it's really cool to see how Switch 2, you put a dock, you have active cooling in the dock.
Yeah.
I really wonder how the performance is going to change between handheld versus the TV.
Yeah. That's
In
going to
that
be interesting.
sense.
I think we're going to get a lot more of that after those hands-on events are happening at the end of the month. I think after people play a lot of this stuff, I think it's going to be interesting to hear what people have to say about a lot of these things. Because a lot of them will be the docked versions of the games.
Yes.
So it'll be interesting. Also, before the end of the year, we are also getting Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, which is the first time that game is on another console. It's also obviously on PC and PlayStation 5, but this is the first time it's been on Xbox or Nintendo. So
Yeah. And it's not on Xbox.
no, it's still not on Xbox, but it's on. It's coming to Switch 2 sometime this year.
Cool.
And they also announced that Rebirth is also coming, but there's no date for it. It's just whenever.
Cool.
So please be excited. And then next year, Garrett, we got not one, but 2 games that were announced. So, of course, The Dusk Bloods, which is the new From Software game that is exclusive to Switch 2.
Crazy, man.
And it's multiplayer. It's not multiplayer only, but it's like player versus environment. And you're going to go into maps of like 12
Man,
people.
they're really leaning on that.
Yeah, between this and Night Rain, they've been doing a couple multiplayer only games. Although Miyazaki, the director, came out and had to make a statement saying, all right, we know what y'all are thinking, but yes, we're going to continue to make single player games in the future. We're just doing these 2 multiplayer games first.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah.
It's when I was looking at the trailer of this, and I think a lot of people felt it was like I heard Castlevania, but also for me personally, it's like that looks like Bloodborne.
Yeah.
Like 100%. Like that looks gothic and just that Bloodborne-esque style, and then but more modern version. I did not, and then once we were done with that trailer, I did not have any impression that was a multiplayer game until they told us, or they put in a press release. It's like, oh yeah, it's a multiplayer game. Like, what? It's like, okay, all right. If people are into it, more power to them. And we'll see how the environment go, or like how the gameplay system goes for this. Like, I won't prejudge for this, but it's just so interesting to, a company like From Software being very, well versed in single player content, now just all of a sudden doing 2 multiplayer games like this. It seems like they are very confident in this type of system. So you know what, we'll see how this goes.
And especially
Switch
because
2.
like the other From Software games always had multiplayer. It was just like weird and convoluted as to how you would go about doing it. So it's interesting. It's cool to actually see them kind of lean into this a little bit and try some different stuff. So
Yeah. So we'll see how it goes next year, 2026.
yes, exactly. And then of course the last game, Garrett, is actually another game that was kind of announced off stream. Is Bestario, which is a turn-based role-playing game with social sim elements. It's an indie game. They just finished their Kickstarter actually for it, and it's supposed to come out next year. It's kind of framed in this like this turn-based PS1 era style design, but with social sim and stuff. So it was cool to get kind of another indie RPG announced. Especially because we don't see a ton of, indie RPGs that they get kind of notoriety. So I wanted to at least highlight this one. So this is coming out sometime next year. We don't have too much stuff to go on with this game, but we do know it'll be they're targeting like Q3 next year. So,
Cool. Sounds good.
there you go. Those are all the RPGs that are on Switch 2, Garrett. And all in all, I think especially if you are like a primary Switch 1 person now going to Switch 2, like I think there's a lot of good stuff here if you haven't played a lot of these on other consoles.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of, like, even day one, you're gonna have plenty of games to choose from, even non-RPGs.
Oh yeah.
Especially non-RPGs. I don't even going through this presentation, like, this is not, supposed to be an RPG centric direct at all. It's definitely for the console, definitely for the main games, the Mario Kart Worlds, the Donkey Kong Bonanzas. I know people are going to be way more excited for that. So yeah.
And not only
Very
that,
exciting.
I think as we talked about last week, Garrett, like I still think there's a lot of RPGs from third parties that we don't know about that are coming out this year that are ports from other consoles. Like I still believe that Atlas is doing either Metaphor or Persona 3 this year.
Oh, definitely.
I think you could see Yakuza Like a Dragon come at some point. I think you could see...
Oh, Yakuza 0 is coming to Switch too.
It is. It is.
Cool.
But that one's not a role-playing game.
No,
it's a
it's not.
beat-em-up game. Yeah, like there's a bunch of stuff, like a bunch of RPGs that are coming out this year that I think could make their way to Switch 2 as well. That just haven't been announced yet. So
Yeah. Wait until Summer Games Fest. Definitely, I would think. So cool.
Just real quick, we got this comment in the chat from Moon Sorrow who says the Cyberpunk build is currently a 7-week-old build. The devs only got dev kit 7 weeks ago, so I think with more time to cook, it'll be improved in the future. Yeah, that's kind of what we were thinking too. Like I said, I'm confident in them that they wouldn't be doing this if they didn't think it was going to perform pretty well. I think they learned their lesson from kind of the main Cyberpunk release that, if they can't do it right, they're not going to do it at all. So, but anyways, 2 questions before we go, Garrett, from the listeners, or the NPCs, I should say. Ribble, aka Rabo, has a question.
Rabo.
I'm not going to mention the first part of your question, Rebo, but I will say, real question. Will you be buying non-first party Switch RPGs physically or digitally? And I think, again, as we talked about, like I think for the Switch 2 generation, I'm going to mostly go digital unless there's like a use case like Cyberpunk to go physical. Like if, for example, if I wanted to pick up Remake Intergrade, Garrett, and the entire game was on the cartridge, then I'd probably go and pick up the physical version. But
yeah.
If it's a game card key, or even if it's not, but you only have to download half the game anyways, well, at that point, I'd rather just download the whole game for convenience. But
yeah, no, it totally makes sense. Yeah, I would definitely, it's a case by case basis for me, and definitely like if it's all on the physical game cart, I'll definitely consider the physical edition. But yeah, as you said, GameKey card is like, that's an easy no-brainer. It's a digital version for me. I like the convenience of digital version as well. It's just like all there on the console. So yeah, that's pretty much what I think of it.
No, that too. But like if I'm at home and I'm on my Ethernet connection plugged into the Switch 2 dock, like the games download so quickly at home anyways that it doesn't bother me to cycle games out. Like it becomes a problem if you're on the road and you can only have like 3 games installed or something. You're kind of stuck with those 3 games. But the final question, or I should say questions of the week, comes to us from Final Fantasy VIII is Life, Final Fantasy VIII is Love, who says, with the hype for these HD-2D remakes of games, what games do you want to see get this treatment? And I'll get into the other part of your question in just a second after we answer this one. So obviously, Garrett, I think the obvious answer for this one is Chrono Trigger.
Yes.
HD-2D treatment. But other than that, like, I'm struggling to think of other games I would want to have the HD-2D treatment. Like, honestly, I would have said for the longest time the Final Fantasy like Super Nintendo games. But after playing the Pixel remasters, I'm like, no, those are versions I actually kind of
those are pretty good definitive versions of those games. But what about like Breath of Fire?
Yeah, that'd be good.
That'd be pretty cool.
Shining Force, Garrett. Oh my God,
Force.
Shining Force HD-2D would be incredible.
Yeah, no, I think that would be pretty dope to do, especially, it's a tactical RPG. Yeah, I think it would, but like it would be very similar to that. Oh man, what's that previous HD-2D game that came
Triangle
out?
Strategy?
Triangle Strategy, but it was like, no, it was a remake of a classic that was not
Live Alive?
Live Alive, that's it. It kind of reminds me of that, right? Because it has some position tactical based combat of some kind. What else?
I thought of another one, Garrett.
Yeah.
Golden Sun.
That's what I was thinking. Golden Sun. I think that would bode really well, especially because they were really trying to be more 3D like, especially in their animations.
Right.
Even though it's a 2D based sprite game on GBA, it's just like, okay, let's view the camera like a little bit differently as we get into the battle system. It's like, I think that would show off really well on the HD-2D side.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
I know a lot of people out there are probably thinking something like Secret of Mana or some of the other Mana games. But I think the HD-2D style works much better with turn-based games. So I wouldn't really think about games like those. Other than that, I'm trying to think of other games. Phantasy Star would be another good one, like Phantasy Star 4 from the Genesis. Would be really cool in this style. I'm just thinking about Sega games now. That's
You're just getting into all the Sega games, yeah.
Dude, hear me out. Lunar HD-2D.
But we're already getting a Lunar remastered.
To be fair, there's like 4 different remakes of Lunar, so if there's one game that doesn't need any more remasters, it's Lunar 1.
You can just have it.
But Lunar 2 HD-2D, I think that would be pretty cool. But yeah, those are our picks, I think. I think those are good picks. But then Awesome Dave was inspired by him and Cwaggy talking in the chat. So he mentions, I've been inspired by my king with another question. What 3D game should be demade into the HD-2D style, and why should that game be Final Fantasy VIII? I would actually, instead of seeing a brand new shiny remake of Final Fantasy IX, I actually would love to see Final Fantasy IX as HD-2D. I think that would be cool. Yeah. Maybe
That'd be really cool to see.
Maybe, Garrett, if they did Final Fantasy X in HD-2D, it'd actually be a good game.
You wish.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
Yeah, no, this is a pretty tricky question, to be honest with you. Yeah, because there's a lot of 3D, maybe like, I don't know if it would really bode well, but like Lost Odyssey or Legend of Dragoon style games.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
That'd be some good ones. Imagine Expedition 33, the one that's coming out this month.
It looks so good 3D though.
Oh, I know.
It looks so good.
No, Legend of Dragoon actually would be really interesting in this style.
I'm thinking like PS1 games, like Wild Arms.
Imagine
like
for a second, Garrett, HD-2D Parasite Eve.
I would be down with that. Actually.
That'd be so weird, but also so cool.
I would be like an HD-2D of that. I would be down.
Yeah, I would be really interested in playing HD-2D.
It would be kind of like Transistor.
Yeah, it really would. It kind of would. It would kind of probably play a lot like Transistor, actually.
Yeah. So, no, that's an interesting question. I'll have to cook a little bit more with that.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, I'm. Some people might say Blade. I actually think like Xenogears, the PlayStation 1 game, would actually be pretty good.
Absolutely not Xenoblade. Let me tell you, it's just too big.
No, Xenogears would be cool though, because you'd have like you'd have these giant mechs in HD-2D, and it would look pretty cool. I think.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, with the anime cutscenes, they could do those in HD-2D as well. But
cool. Final Fantasy 13 or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. That's also another game that's like too big probably for that.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of in the same way Xenoblade is, because it's very linear to start, but it opens up and the world is super big. Like it would be. I think that would be a tough game to replicate in that way.
Okay.
But, cool. Well, that's going to do it, I think, for this episode of the RPG Cave. But before we go, of course, we got to say thank you to all of our patrons over at patreon.com/carpoolgaming, starting with our ultimate producers, Jonathan Brown, the man behind the music on the Xbox Drive and the PlayStation Drive. You can find all of his music over at his Linktree, linktr.ee/pme.jib. Cwagmire, who humbly reminds you that the best babes are, in fact, Xenobabes. And Technical Michael, who says, whether you're Kevesi or Agnian, you're a Xenobabe at heart. Links to all of our ultimate producers can always be found in the description of our podcasts. Our platinum producers, Smokin Joe, the captain in Tim Paullin, and our gold members, Adam K, Anna, Awesome Dave 1337, Brad Moore, Brian Reese, Cecily Carrozza, Dan and Luma, Dannohh, Emily O'Kelly, John 32, Lagerwoods 330, Mr. Giggles, OldMrFrump, Patrice Mallette, Peje, Riley King, Solo, Stephen Keller, and Toxic. Huge thank you once again to all of our patrons over at patreon.com/carpoolgaming. If you want to head on over there and choose the tier that's right for you, hop in the car with us and get some cool perks. And now, Garrett Plugs go.
You can follow me at Blue Sky, at Blind Explosion. You can also find me on the Discord. I read every single message, except for the ones that you hide for spoilers. Like, I'm I'm not getting into that business. And it's like, okay, here's a spoiler for this random Trails game. I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. You guys have fun reading, your endless hours of lore in the Trails games. But anyways, I always have to comment about that, by the way.
Of
Always
course.
do. Always
You
do.
got to let the people know, Garrett, where you stand
got-
on the Trails games.
If you are a Trails fan, you'll feel right at home in the RPG Cave channel. Let me tell you. 100%. So just check out over there. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I mean, we're waiting any day now, Garrett, for the announcement of Switch 2 versions of the Trails games, and then our Discord will just explode.
Yeah,
People
it's
talking about
inevitable. Yeah.
Yeah. As for me, you can always find me in the Discord at Ryan Turford. You can also find me on backlogged.com at Ryan Turford, where I've been posting, of course, all the games I've been playing this year, including a little write-up on Dragon Quest III HD-2D. And, of course, Atelier Yumiya. When I finish that, I will put that over there as well. Because, yes, Garrett, I'm going to finish that game. It's going to be my first Atelier game I finish. I'm so excited.
Oh, I'm excited for you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, until next time, friends, this has been the RPG Cave level 178. I'm Ryan Turford. That's Garrett Plan, and we're out. Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.